Welcome to MassoniArt and our Cross Street Gallery. We are so excited to welcome Marc Castelli to the Cross Street Gallery for the first time and to feature this incredible show that he's put together of portraits of the watermen of our region. We're so pleased to have Marc with us today, and he's going to take some time to walk through this exhibit and give you some background on how it all came together and why we are so eager to share it with you.
John Singer Sargent, an American portrait artist, once was heard to say that every time I paint a portrait, I lose a friend. Doing this show, working portraits of watermen that I'd known over the years, is just as scary a proposition. They're good friends of mine. I've known them for a long time. I know their children. Our kids went to school. I've been to funerals. I am honored to have become part of their lives. And I'm especially honored that they continue to let me get on the boats with them and work alongside and take pictures and have them as my teachers. So this show, there aren't boats, there aren't crabs, there aren't oysters. It's the men that I've known for close to 30 years now. We'll start with this one here. A gentleman named Weldon from down on Tangier Island, and we're oystering out in Tangier Sound, and it can be a very large, very rough, big waves body of water, small boats, and the work he's doing there is oystering, and you can tell that we're down bay because of the red hair on some of the oysters and that there's no shoreline in the background. And there was in this photograph a, what do I want to say, hope. He's looking and he's hoping at the same time, because it's all, you never know what you're going to find out there or what you're not going to find out there. So that was the impetus for the photograph, and that was the impetus now for the painting. I do take a lot of pictures and have done so over the years that are portrait-like, but I had never thought to venture into portraiture until Carla had asked me early this year if I would consider doing this as a subject matter. Gentleman here from Rock Hall, he's clamming, from which he has retired now. Knees and back have gone out on him. Remarkably, what do I want to say, hard face, handsome person. And also one of the most gentle people that I've ever known. Great sense of humor. A little bit of a wild card in his early days, but good man, good friend. They're always willing to share information with me and time. Called the Polisher. He's from down bay, down around Mount Vernon, and he is chipping off the spat, and he's also cleaning up any butt shell. When you cull oysters, you have to clean off a certain amount of things. The buyers and the state have rules about what can go into a bushel basket. I'm gradually learning that I don't like painting camouflage. There are 4 things that I don't like painting anymore, and it is endemic to what I'm painting. I don't like painting net, I don't like painting camouflage, I don't like painting flannel, and I don't like painting deep grass. So if I was going to be exiled to purgatory forever, it would be me painting 2 old men sitting knee-deep in grass wearing flannel and camouflage and gearing net. Not the most wonderful thing to look forward to forever. Just again, I love the faces. I spent a lot of time working into these pictures with much smaller brushes than I used to paint with. I like the maps of their faces as they evolve from their eyes out. Next painting, a rock hauler, hand-tonging for oysters. The title was, Thank the Governor I Won't Have to Do This Anymore. It was right after the state of Maryland had confiscated basically several oyster bars in the Chester River and turned them into sanctuaries. Still a very sensitive political issue. Gentlemen on the top there, we are splashing for fish up Foxhole Creek off of the Tread Avon River. Splashing involves going up in the rivers and setting some net and then banging on the bottom of the boat with a pole to make noise to scare the fish so that they'll gill into the net. He's a rock hauler also. This gentleman's 74 years old, still oystering as he was when I painted this picture. I think this year he's just retired from oystering by himself. Again, very generous with his time, his questions. I called for him because he usually worked by himself, and he could fill up that cardboard real quick, and there was no way I could ever stay up with him. He was very good at it, and he had this wonderful face, and I'm shooting from a different boat at him. And as I work into these pictures with smaller brushes, I become more aware of the subtleties of the expressions in their face. And he has this wonderful near smile to his mouth, and his eyes are a little bit more light in them. It's, I don't know, very indicative of his character. Top picture, good friend of mine, Tyrone. He's also the captain of a headboat from Kent Island. I got to know him when I was asked to paint a portrait of him and his father when his father was, awarded the status of Admiral of the Chesapeake years ago, also when he turned 90. And since then, several years ago, Tyrone and I have gotten to be good friends, and I work with him on his boat, and when he's out oystering, I get to call for him also, alongside some of the other guys that work with him. He's important to me because he was the entrance to the community of black watermen, a demographic that I had not really had any exposure to and wanted to, because they've always been a seriously big part of the commercial fishery. Yeah, one of my closest friends, Wayne, rock hauler. We are on his boat on the Chester River. I oystered with him for years. I did a lot of other things with him for years, but just getting older and body kind of giving out, he just trot lines on the Chester River now. Has a totally indomitable sense of humor, the great ability to throw things out at moments totally unexpected, very funny. And I've always liked working alongside him. It's a good day. Here, he's putting the top on a basket of crabs, a bushel of crabs. Something that you do as quickly as you can, because the crabs want to get the hell out of there. But this is something that he always asks me whenever he puts the top on the basket, if I'm ready for the money shot. So this is called the money shot. So this is sunny Hampton. Now, sunny Hampton, it's a bit of a convoluted story. I would go into the post office here in Chestertown, and talking with the people behind the counter, they began to understand that I was getting out on the water a lot with watermen, and one of the people behind the counter was his daughter. And she started telling me about her brother, who made models of workboats, and I got to know her brother quite well through the models, and now he's left the water and he's actually making a living making replicas of workboats. Very detailed, very true to the subject, really good models. And through those two, I got to meet Sonny, their father, who was very generous with his time and his sense of humor. And at the time of this picture, he'd been on the water for 70 years. He's just recently passed away and kind of left a hole in my heart and a lot of other watermen's hearts also, who always speak very highly of him. This gentleman's Andrew from Deal Island. I met him through oystering, waiting on the docks for Tyrone and Lamont to show up, and some mornings that they couldn't make it, and I'm walking around hoping I could get on a boat, and Andrew and his father told me that I could get out with them anytime I wanted, especially after I gave them a painting of them working on the water. And then this last several winters I have gone out with him oystering. His father is 80 years old now, and he was the minister on Deal Island. Irrepressible sense of humor, great fun to be with. And I just liked the look on his face, very similar to the one of Weldon from Tangier, that he has a hope for what's coming, and he's lost in thought. These paintings need to be looked at up close because I've worked into the faces with increasingly smaller brushes. There's so much to the faces other than just a face. This is Jeff. I very rarely ever zoom in on a face to take a photograph. And as I've gotten to know these gentlemen more and more over the years, and they've gotten more comfortable with my being with them and my camera, and also because I have a zoom on the lens, I'm not sticking my camera in their face, I've been able to get some remarkable photographs of, some people call them crow's feet. I liken them to the rivers and creeks, coves, the things that they've spent their livelihood on, their lives on, as they harvested of the different things through the seasons. So this was the very first, just dive into the subject and paint it. And it took forever, but the result I'm very happy with, and that's Jeff. That's him. The longest story of the day, all right? Just moved here in 1995 with my family. We're living renting a farmhouse just outside of Chestertown, and it's foggy. I mean, really foggy. And I said to my wife, I got to get down to the docks to take pictures of these boats in the fog. So I peeled out of there. I was doing 60, 70 miles an hour in the fog because I wanted to get there before the fog lifted. And as I'm driving through past the fields, this fog is rolling out of the trees like they were on fire. It was that thick a fog. It was remarkable. And all that did is just make me drive faster to get there. So I get down to Long Cove, and there's ice. The guys are frozen to the docks, and there's a lot of them on the docks, and the fog is in the background, and I got a lot of good pictures. But as I'm taking the pictures, I'm starting to get questions like, who are you? Who are you shooting for? What magazine are you shooting for? What newspaper are you shooting for? Are you a writer? And invariably, the last question would be, are you with the DNR, the state's Department of Natural Resources? And I answered all of their questions, and I reassured them that I was not with the state, which kind of let me on the docks with a little bit more comfort on my part. And as I'm walking down the dock, taking pictures of guys, asking if I can take their pictures, because I don't know any of them at this time. And I get to a point where I'm standing over this boat, and they're all working on their boats. They're bored out of their minds. They have to get out of the house, so they're on the dock. They're in their boats. They're working on things. And this gentleman is down in his boat, and he starts talking, and he says, so where do you live? And I said, oh, outside of Chestertown. He goes, are you from here? And I said, no, we just moved down here from Pennsylvania. And he said, well, you're nothing but a damn chicken necker, which is kind of a marginal insult. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. And it got real quiet. And I said, I don't crab, I don't fish, I don't oyster recreationally, because that's taking money out of your wallet and food off of you and your family's tables. And he gave me his name and his phone number and said, call me in April when we start crabbing, and I'll take you out. So this is Jerry Creighton, the first waterman that ever gave me that chance to get out. And so all of these other paintings that you see, they're derived from that opportunity that he gave me. Specials drawing, special story to this. This is Buster Elbert. He's passed away a while ago now. I had done a painting. I first met him on the docks at Long Cove. I still didn't know a lot of people. And he's working on his little boat, and I decided I was just going to sit there and see if I could strike up a conversation, which I did, and I just sat on the dock and we talked back and forth for a while. The boat across the dock from him had parking curbs, those cement barriers that you see in parking lots. On one side of the boat, on the other side was a clam rig. Being very new to all this, I just kind of chuckled to myself, and he asked what I was laughing at, and I said, well, somebody's got to be pretty pissed off because they're missing their parking curbs from their business. And he laughed, and he said, well, actually, those are used to counterbalance the weight of the clam rig. In an interesting way, that just kind of opened up the conversation, and we talked more about what he was doing, what he was harvesting, and ultimately, I had asked him early on if I could take his picture, and he said no. After the conversation, he said, you can take my picture now. And I took a picture of him in his boat. I did this drawing from him oystering. And I'd also done a painting of him oystering that year. And somebody had bought the painting. His daughter was really upset that she couldn't get the painting in time. So I painted a small version of it for her and gave her the photographs of it. Well, recently, some of my paintings have come up for auction. And that painting of her father oystering came up for auction, and she got it, which is a really cool full circle ending to it. So we moved here in 1995. We're renting a farmhouse outside of Chestertown. And I had been showing with Carla for a few years before that. And that year there was a show at her gallery here in Chestertown. And in it was a painting of a waterman and his father oystering. The ladies of Rock Hall had gotten together, passed the hat around. They wanted to buy that painting to give to him and his wife to be as a wedding present. So I'm home, the kids are at school, I'm painting, and in the driveway comes this car with all of these ladies in it, and I hear this story, and they wanted to buy the painting. And I told them, well, I have a special discount for watermen and wives. I'd never been confronted with this situation before. And I quoted them a seriously low price. And I said, and that includes the frame. And so they got the painting, they got the frame. Willie, who has passed away now, and his wife, Roz, went to Las Vegas for the ceremony and the celebration, and they came back and there was a reception in Rock Hall to which I was invited. And at that reception, I met this gentleman, Marc, and I have fished with him and crabbed with him for a long, long time. He was step 2 in the process because at the wedding reception, I got his phone number and 6 or 7 other phone numbers. It was like the floodgates opened up. It was a remarkable confirmation for what I want to do, that I don't paint these gentlemen in bluebird calendar weather. I'm out there in the same rotten weather sometimes, or the same really bake your skin type of weather, alongside them, taking pictures, and when they let me work on the boats alongside, I do the work too. And it has just been, for me, a wonderful 30 years of these people sharing their lives with me. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about these paintings, talk about the men in them, the process of painting, and the evolution of this particular show. So I hope you can come and see all of them and take your time. Look at the faces real close because I used a lot of small brushes getting to them.
Thank you, Marc, for being with us, and thank you, Justinian, for coming in and filming this exhibit. We look forward to welcoming you to the gallery during the next 3 weeks. We can schedule private appointments for any of you that wish, and we also hope that you will stop by our High Street Gallery for the final weeks of Marcy Dunn Ramsey's exhibit, Surfacing. Thank you.